Starmer just commit to using his Labour Party conference speech to attacking Amnesty International for criticising Israeli apartheid?
After he failed to mention the conflict in Gaza at the Prime Minister's questions, the Labour leader sparked fury among left-wing
circumstances, the opposition leader is in a very tricky situation because you almost want a government of national unity.
Yeah. Did you see Keir Starmer's face when a Liverpool local called him out on his broken promises? It was like watching a man's political career crumble in real time. That deer in the headlights look tells you everything you need to know about a leader who's all words, no substance. In this video, we're breaking down exactly what happened when Starmer's carefully constructed public image hit the brick wall of reality. From his abandoned pledges to his EU flip-flopping, we'll show you why this confrontation wasn't just embarrassing. It exposed a fundamental problem with his leadership that mainstream media won't talk about.
Clearly amount to apartheid, the international community has an obligation to act.
Accused to back specific parts of the Israel-Hamas conflict. However, he rejected calls for a wider stop to hostilities.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Tanzania, Belarus, all the places in the world where they simply haven't done this and lots of people haven't died.
Right.
The opposition. You have failed to ask whether lockdown was functioning. Do you understand? Thousands of people have died.
What was meant to be a standard political walkabout in Liverpool turned into a defining moment, exposing the widening chasm between Keir Starmer and Labour's traditional supporters. The Labour leader found himself cornered by a local resident who tore through the carefully constructed political veneer with surgical precision, challenging him on his abandoned pledges and political U-turns. This wasn't some staged media opportunity or carefully curated press conference. This was raw, unfiltered political accountability playing out in real time on camera. The resident didn't mince words, directly confronting Starmer about his shifting stances and unfulfilled promises. What makes this encounter particularly revealing is that it occurred in Liverpool, a city with deep Labour roots and equally deep sensitivities around political betrayal. The most telling aspect wasn't what was said, but Starmer's physical reaction to being challenged. Political leaders are trained to maintain composure under pressure, but Starmer's performance revealed a politician utterly unprepared for genuine public scrutiny.
Some frontbenchers want their party leader to call for an immediate end to hostilities so that vital humanitarian aid can reach.
Witnesses described him as sputtering and stammering, unable to formulate a coherent response to the accusations being levelled against him. His body language betrayed what his words couldn't articulate, a profound discomfort with being held accountable. The confrontation took on additional weight given Liverpool's historical significance as a Labour stronghold. The residents specifically invoked the Sun newspaper's treatment of Hillsborough victims, touching on deep wounds that still resonate powerfully within the community. This wasn't merely about policy disagreements. It struck at the heart of trust between a political leader and a city that has historically given unwavering support to Labour. What's particularly damning is the contrast between this moment of authenticity and Starmer's typical media appearances. Gone was the polished, prepared politician who delivers carefully crafted sound bites. Instead, viewers witnessed a leader who appeared out of his depth when faced with the genuine frustration of an ordinary voter. The gap between image and substance couldn't have been more starkly illustrated.
Gaza, East Jerusalem and the rest of the West Bank, or Israel itself, Palestinians are treated as an inferior racial group and systematically deprived of their rights.
Civilians in Gaza. More than 150 Muslim Labour councillors have also signed a letter calling on the party to back a ceasefire.
Beyond the personal embarrassment for Starmer, this confrontation represents something far more significant: the visible manifestation of growing discontent within Labour's traditional base. Liverpool served as the perfect backdrop for this political theatre, a city where Labour's support has historically been unshakable. now becoming the stage for one of Starmer's most uncomfortable political moments. That uncomfortable moment in Liverpool connects to a deliberate erasure campaign that Starmer hoped voters would forget. His 10 leadership pledges, once proudly displayed as his political manifesto, have been systematically scrubbed from Labour's website, though digital archives still preserve what many now recognise as the most comprehensive political bait and switch in recent British politics. When campaigning for Labour leadership, Starmer crafted these pledges specifically to appeal across the party's spectrum, from traditional socialists to moderates. These weren't vague aspirations, but concrete commitments upon which party members cast their votes. Yet as his leadership progressed, these promises began disappearing one by one, not through public renunciation, but through quiet abandonment, a political sleight of hand that's only now receiving proper scrutiny. Take his economic pledges, for instance.
It was last orders for Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer during a campaign walkabout in Bath city centre yesterday.
Starmer initially won support by promising substantial tax increases on corporations and the wealthy to fund public services. Fast forward to today, and we find a leader suddenly hesitant to commit to meaningful tax reform, apparently more concerned with appeasing business interests than addressing inequality. This pivot toward fiscal conservatism has left many traditional Labour supporters wondering if they've been duped by a leader who secured their votes under false pretences. Perhaps most striking is Starmer's EU about-face. His original pledge to defend free movement and maintain close European ties has transformed into an adamant refusal to consider rejoining the single market or customs union. This isn't mere policy refinement. It's a wholesale abandonment of principles that many supporters considered fundamental to their support.
Muslim members of his party over the refusal to call for a ceasefire. Starmer used all his 6 questions at...
We found that Israel's cruel policies of segregation, dispossession and exclusion across all territories under its control.
Workers' rights tell a similar story. The man who promised to strengthen workers' rights and trade unions now responds to strikes with lukewarm statements and carefully calculated distance. When union members needed solidarity during recent industrial actions, Starmer's tepid response revealed how far he strayed from Labour's traditional role as the party of working people. The commitment to common ownership of essential services like rail, mail, energy and water has similarly vanished into political vapour. Today's Labour offers policies barely distinguishable from the status quo, a far cry from the bold nationalisation agenda that helped secure Starmer's leadership. Even within the party itself, Starmer's promises of greater transparency and democratic participation ring hollow. Many members describe a troubling pattern of witch hunts against left-wing voices and the systematic marginalisation of anyone critical of the leadership's rightward drift.
Keir Starmer has, once again, thrown Palestinians under the bus. This week he spoke to the Jewish Chronicle.
The Israel-Hamas war has reached the United Kingdom. This comes as Labour Party leader Keir Starmer looks to dampen the flames of...
What we're witnessing with Starmer isn't merely a series of isolated missteps, but a fundamental leadership crisis. His growing pattern of self-inflicted political wounds reveals a man increasingly unable to maintain control of his own narrative. When confronted with legitimate criticism, he retreats into vague rhetoric rather than engaging substantively. This leadership vacuum has created a dangerous fracture within Labour's electoral coalition. The trust deficit is widening daily as more voters recognise the hollow nature of Starmer's political promises. Starmer now faces an existential choice that will define his legacy: either rediscover authentic principles that resonate with voters, or continue his current trajectory toward political irrelevance.